the 20th century came to a close, people in the US were searching for a new source of energy. To stop our dependence on the Middle East for oil imports, companies began to tap into sources of natural gas underneath the country which had been previously inaccessible. The new method we began to use is something known as hydraulic fracturing, or fracking. The process is used to retrieve amounts of gas from deep underneath the Earth's surface through drill wells. In the process, the well is drilled thousands of meters underground. An explosive is detonated which fractures the surrounding rock, and chemically laced water is pumped into the fractures. The water is used to further break apart and open the rock. This allows the trapped gas to flow out of the cracks and be sucked into the wells along with the water. After the gas is retrieved, the well is sealed and the water is placed in nearby storage pits where it can be later treated. This method has become popular for its ability to retrieve gas at an inexpensive cost. It has also become a symbol of America's economic future as a country not dependent on foreign oil. When the gas prices were at their highest and our economy was recovering from a recession, the new source of energy brought promises of a large economic boost which can help push our country ahead at the start of the new century. There is also estimation of enough natural gas to supply our country for the next 100 years. This would be enough to carry us on until a reliable new source of energy is perfected. On top of all this, the burning of natural gas has been shown to produce far less emissions than most other sources, such as coal or oil. Between the strong economic boost that fracturing has already brought and the superiority to alternatives such as coal, the process has many convinced that it's here to stay. While it seems on the surface that everything's going well, new controversies have risen in the recent years over the environmental downside of this new method.
While fracking has been helpful in creating jobs and boosting the U.S. economy, it has also had negative consequences because of the effects it may have on the environment. One of the first issues that concerned researchers was the risk of water pollution because of the possibility of aquifer contamination and the likelihood that fracking could taint the large amounts of fresh water used in this process. Many believe that the process of drilling into the ground to extract oil may cause oil to seep into aquifers below the ground that contain vital fresh water that is often extracted for drinking water. Once that water becomes contaminated, it is toxic and can at times even contain carcinogenic chemicals and volatile organic compounds. This kind of pollution could be disastrous to the hydrologic cycle and its ability to provide safe drinking water. Health issues are another cause of concern when looking at the effects of fracking. Recently, researchers have come about the revelation that workers may be coming in contact with a dangerous substance called silica dust. As the sand used in fracking is brushed up and moved, it begins to surround workers, causing them to inhale it. Silica is extremely dangerous because it can cause health issues such as silicosis and cancer. Since learning of this dangerous dust, many work sites are trying to implement changes to make the industry safer. However, even with these precautions in place, the amount of silica dust that workers are exposed to often exceeds the recommended exposure limit by as much as 79%. Some legislation is in place to protect from this kind of exposure, but most of it does not include the fracking industry. One of the clearest examples of fracking's effects is evident in the research done on Youngstown, Ohio. Ohio's State Department of Natural Resources verified in March 2012 that fracking fluids disposed into a deep injection well were responsible for a series of earthquakes. Youngstown, which had experienced no earthquakes in 100 years, began reporting tremors 13 days after hydrologic fracturing began in the area. 100 tremors were reported in the short period of only about 1 year, with the strongest earthquake breaking in at a magnitude of 3.9. The direction that the earthquakes moved in also gave indication that their cause may be tied to fracking. This hypothesis was further solidified when fracking stopped. Dips in earthquake activity correlated with Memorial Day, the 4th of July, Labor Day, and Thanksgiving, as well as other periods when injection at the well was paused. Essentially, when fracking ended, so did the tremors. With so many hazards present, many people hoped the Safe Drinking Water Act would begin to do something about these problems. This act was passed to stop the pollution of drinking water and ensure its safety. However, there's a loophole, referred to as the Halliburton loophole, in this act that prevents change from occurring. Many believe that if fracking is going to be legal, there needs to at least be full disclosure as to what exactly the process entails. This would include making it mandatory that fracking operators release information about what they are inserting into the ground during the extraction process. President Obama's administration also supports restrictions on fracking, believing there should be tighter restraints on this practice. However, getting legislation passed on this issue is a lengthy process and could take more time than they are willing to wait. As we wait for bans to be enacted at the national level, local groups are the best target to inform on the dangers of fracking. As local levels begin to pass laws, it is their hope that eventually higher levels of government will take notice and follow in their lead. It is quite evident that many different views can be taken on the topic of hydraulic fracturing. With how many advantages and disadvantages are accompanied by it, it is important to look ahead to what could result from fracking in the long term. Fracking explorations will continue to benefit the economy, create jobs for United States residents, and decrease foreign imports. However, it is important to also take notice to the disadvantages that may arise as fracking expands. If silica dust is as large of a problem as researchers are currently saying, workers in the fracking industry will constantly be compromising their health for their job. Fracking may also create more situations similar to what happened in Youngstown, Ohio. Earthquakes and other environmental hazards may mean the horrible risks associated with fracking could increase. If it is true that fracking is contaminating aquifers, serious problems could ensue because the water from aquifers is often consumed by plants, animals, and humans. However, if the downsides of fracking are not as grave as many researchers are estimating, then fracking may be a small step towards helping the United States' extremely damaged economy. No one can guarantee how serious the downfalls of fracking are, and therefore it is important that researchers continue to explore the different aspects and effects of fracking.